Hello and welcome back to the Epic Higher Ed podcast, a podcast for educators, lecturers, professors, teachers, and students in higher education, all about amplifying student stories and voices in order to improve teaching and learning in higher education through empathy and compassion. My name is Dustin Backey, and I am so excited to bring this episode to you with Jackie Mudd. Jackie is a incoming freshman student to Biola University in Southern California, and she is coming fresh out of high school. I've actually known Jackie for more than a decade, and it was really great to catch up with her, but she highlights a lot of the experiences that she had of missing essentially what was the last bit of her senior year as a student athlete, and what it's going to be like with this transition as an incoming freshman to university. And Jackie's positivity is just outstanding, and she has some really great suggestions for instructors on how to better meet the needs of their students and better connect with their students, especially those incoming freshmen. I think you'll get a lot out of this episode. I would love it if you liked this video, subscribed to this podcast, and left us a rating and review wherever you're at. It really helps amplify the podcast and ultimately amplify these student voices. If you're an educator or a student and you would like to be part of this podcast, reach out to us at epichighered@gmail.com. We would love to get your questions that you might want to ask a student, or if you think you have a student or you are a student who has a story that should be shared, I'd love to hear from you as well. Let's go ahead and dive into this episode with Jackie Mudd. All right, welcome back to the Epic Higher Ed podcast. I am the host, Dustin Backey, and today I have kind of a blast from the past for me in Jackie. And Jackie was a swimmer on a swim team I used to coach in Colorado. And one of my earliest memories of Jackie was she was like 6 or 7 years old, and we had this really unusual swim meet where it started snowing in Colorado in June, which happens now and then. And we have a picture of Jackie up on my shoulders wearing like my snow hat and going through the meet. And so it's an awesome chance to catch up with Jackie, but I want to let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm 18 years old and I'm from Denver, Colorado. As Dustin said, I am a competitive swimmer still, so I'm going on my, I want to say 12th year of competitive swimming. I'm going to swim in college at Biola University, Southern California. I'm very excited. Thank you so much for having me, Dustin. And it's great to catch up with you, and I'm super excited to chat.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. And like Jackie mentioned, she was heading into her freshman year and is heading into her freshman year of college at Biola. And I'd love to hear how you got set up there. How did you get on Biola's radar? How did you choose them, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's kind of a crazy story. I had never heard of Biola before. I was looking at some other schools like Loyola Marymount, Chapman, Azusa Pacific. Um, I I always knew I wanted to be in Southern California. It's probably one of the best places for swimming. And so I never heard of Biola, and I had some mutual friends that were going there. We're on the soccer team. So I kind of connected with them to see their experiences at the school. I had a phone call with the coach, and it was supposed to be a 15-minute phone call, and it turned into an hour and a half phone call. And I knew after talking to the coach that there was something special about him and about the school. And so I went on a recruiting trip there, absolutely loved it, fell in love with the school. They have a great kinesiology program for what I want to study. And it just felt so right being there. And then I took about a month or two to kind of decide, um, make a list of pros and cons of schools that I liked. And there were so many schools that I could have picked from that I loved so, so much. There were good and bads about both schools, pros and cons, but ultimately Biola just ended up being the best place for me education wise, swimming wise, and I am beyond happy with my choice.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I follow Jackie on social media and we're connected there, and she is very excited
I
to
am.
go, and they are very excited to have you. Like that I think is one of the coolest things, is just how excited Biola has been for not only you but all of their incoming freshman class on the swim team. And your coach, I can tell he's an amazing coach with just how invested he
Yeah.
is in all of you before you're even there, which is
Mhm.
really special, really a cool
Absolutely.
experience, I can imagine. Um,
Absolutely.
so that's you're you're looking forward to swimming, you're looking forward to going out there.
Mhm.
Um, and what does that look like now?
So Biola right now is online through January. There was a little bit of guidance from the governor actually last night that there is a very slim possibility that student athletes will be able to return to campus, live on campus in single dorms, so no roommates, just by yourself, which there's pros and cons to that. um, but to where we can train on campus with our coach, very slim possibility. I think, as you know, California is kind of taking it day by day and just kind of figuring that all out first. Um, right now, the plan is to be home until January. I'm hoping to do a little bit of training with my club team and also hopefully fly out to California a couple times and do a couple practices with coach or train with him a little bit. But as of right now, the plan is to stay till January.
Yeah, which is such a hard decision,
Mhm.
and that's got to be just brutal for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how is that? I mean, how has that impacted you? How have you, obviously, right? You just graduated high
Mhm.
school, and so
Mhm.
I'd love to hear a little bit about what the end of your high school experience was like. Um,
Yeah.
but even how this has shifted, like your expectations of your freshman
Mhm.
year, and what that, right, such this kind of big monumental moment in a lot of people's lives, this transition
Yeah.
from high school to college, and especially for you, where it's
Mhm.
you are going to be part of this amazing swim team in this amazing school, and you're
Mhm.
moving out of state and kind of like starting this new independent life. um,
Mhm.
but now you're home.
Yeah.
What's all that like?
So, yeah, for high school, it definitely hit me pretty hard. I loved my high school. Absolutely loved it. And I'm very grateful, very thankful for the 3.5 years that I had there. That's what I remember about high school, not the missing out. Um, but definitely senior year, you want your prom and graduation, and you want to go to everything and be a part of everything because everyone talks about how amazing senior year is, and you just want to finish that way. And so it definitely hit pretty hard when we found out that we weren't going back. At the beginning, our teachers were saying, "It's okay, we'll be back. Leave your stuff here. Don't say goodbye yet. We'll we'll be back." And so we kind of took it week by week. And then when we officially found out we would not be returning to school, I think it hit me really hard, and it hit a lot of seniors really hard. Just we wanted that final moment in our school. Our last day, we didn't think it was going to be our last day. So we definitely wanted that final moment to be there. Um, I'm very thankful that our school worked so hard to get us the graduation that we've always wanted. Sitting
They
six
just
feet
did a
apart.
graduation for you
Yes,
recently.
about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we were all sitting 6 feet apart. We all had our masks on, didn't shake anyone's hand, but we got to walk across the stage and, you know, just be together with our class for the last time, officially say goodbye to your friends and your classmates. So I'm very thankful that we had that. But then dragging on into freshman year, you think every week everyone thinks, oh, it's going to be over soon. And so at first it was like, we're going to go. You're going to live on campus. You're going to swim. You're going to be in person classes. And then one day it was like shutting everything down. No one is coming. No one is living. All of your classes are online. So I think the fact that we had such high expectations to just kind of get shut down was a really big shock for a lot of us. So yeah, it's definitely been hard not having your senior year and then not having your freshman year. Um, I know I'm going to get that brand new student at some point, if that's in January or if that's next year or who knows when it'll be. I'll have that first year experience, but I definitely wish it was coming up in the next couple weeks. So it's been pretty hard, but we're just kind of taking it one week at a time and
Yeah.
staying positive and yeah.
You're doing a really great job of staying positive. I'm sitting here
Thank
thinking
you.
like you tell me how hard it is, and I
Mhm,
absolutely believe you, and I can tell that you're staying positive about it, and that's a
mhm,
big part of how you're moving through this,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Do you have friends or like other peers who maybe aren't staying as positive, and what does it kind of look like for them? I mean,
absolutely.
it's got to be hard.
Um, yeah, I do have friends that are saying this is gonna go on for maybe another year, that we won't go to school at all this whole year. And it's definitely a thought that's in the back of our minds, of no one knows when this is gonna end. But I'm trying to keep the mentality that student athletes might be able to go in the fall or that
Yeah,
we'll all be able to go in January. But I definitely have teammates even that are saying we won't go at all till next August or this won't end or it's going to be different forever, and that definitely is hard to listen to because I I feel like I'm such a positive person that I always see the good in every situation. And so to kind of get those thoughts shut down by all negatives is definitely hard to hear. And, it's always in the back of your mind that we might not go back till whenever next August, but I don't want to think that way.
yeah,
I want to keep thinking that we're going to go as soon as possible. And I want to see the good in every situation. So it's definitely hard to hear people's negative thoughts all the time.
yeah, yeah. I can imagine, and like I said, that's one thing I've noticed about you. Just even through
Mhm.
social media, even through everything, you're positive, which is really amazing to see.
Thank you.
Um, you had you had kind of a cool little small world moment with Biola swim team recently, where I think it was a neighbor or a family
Mhm.
friend. Can you had kind of a piece of memorabilia? Can you tell me?
Yeah, about the cap?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so on Gators, there's a family so I coach them and,
Gators is
um
the swim team that we are both
yes,
associated with, the
yes,
Governor's Ranch Gators. I coached there,
yes,
and that was the one that Jackie swam
yes.
for
Dustin was my
and
coach,
coached.
taught me how to swim from the time I was 6 till I was, like, 11, maybe?
Yeah, let's see, 2013. So yeah.
Yeah, so I was about 11.
Mhm.
Yeah, I swam for Dustin. So now I am one of the coaches on the team. And so a family that I coach, their parents both went to Biola. And it's so funny. Their mom is a physical therapist, which is what I'm aspiring to be. That is my major. So it's been nice to talk to her a little bit about it. And their dad actually started the swim team and was the first coach. So he was
Wow,
a swimmer and the coach, like at the same time, kind of started the team. So that was really cool
that's so
to
cool.
hear his story about how it all kind of came together. And last week, he presented me with a swim cap from Biola's very first year of the team. And it had never been out of the bag before. So it still had the cornstarch on
Yeah,
it. And, it was brand new, folded all nice. And it was a really special moment. And I couldn't help it but just to break down in tears because it was so cool. I have never seen something like that before, that no one has ever given me a gift that personal to me, and it was amazing to see it. And so I immediately texted my coach and I was like, look at this cap I just got. It's 24 years old from the very first year of the whole swim team. And he was like, I'll buy that from you. I want it so bad. And so
That's
that
so
was
cool.
really cool. It was really cool to have, and just um, having them be so close to me, like living wise, but also they're very invested in my swimming and me as a human and just me
Yeah.
personally. And so that was an amazing gift that I got from them. I'm really thankful for it.
Yeah. Did you know about that connection before Biola?
Yeah, so I did know that they went to Biola, but after I committed there, then I found out like, oh, they went there, like their parents went. And so I had reached out to them, and their mom was like, "Oh, I'm a physical therapist." I'm like, "Oh, that's what I'm studying. That's what I'm aspiring to be." And so it's been really cool to talk to her about her job and everything she studied. And so that's definitely one of the pros to staying home then, is asking them questions, and they know some of the professors. So it'll be kind of cool to have those connections as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
But yeah.
absolutely. It was funny when I committed to coming out here to Chico, a family on the Gators team was like, we both went to Chico and met there and fell in love. And so it's funny that
Wow.
like now you're coaching and now a family
Uh-huh.
on the Gators is like, hey, we went to Biola.
That's
Um,
awesome. I actually did not know that. That's
yeah,
so funny.
yeah, it was well, I don't want to name names just in case.
That's okay.
um,
We'll
yeah,
talk about it
that's
later.
yeah. Um, what did digital learning look like for you as a senior in high school?
So it was very difficult, I think more for our teachers, because they had less than 24 hours to prepare a lesson plan for a couple months. Um, so for me, all of my classes were through Google Classroom. We were given an assignment every day, or like a survey to start out, which I love doing. It was just your name, first name, your period, and then it was like, how are you doing today? And I loved that, because that's how I knew my teachers really were checking in on us. And I think it hit everyone a little differently, and everyone responded to everything differently. Some took it harder than others. So I loved having that question like
Yeah,
4 or 5 times every single day. How are you today? And you would respond, and then your teachers would respond 20 minutes later, like, let me know if you need anything. And I loved hearing that, because that's how I knew they really, really cared. So anyways, I would get like that survey to start. We would get an assignment, and it would take 30 minutes to an hour. And then some days we would have quizzes, some days we'd have tests. And then there was like a closing survey that was like, how did class go today? And being a senior, your teachers kind of, they're like, it's okay, you don't need to do this, which I think our teachers had senioritis too a little bit.
yeah,
But I liked it because we were given a time frame to do it in. It was like, I'm going to post it at 7:30 and you have until midnight to
mm,
finish it. And so if I had other classes that I had more time, or that I needed more time to do them, it was nicer because I can spread them throughout the day. But there definitely were times to where I would finish all 7 of my classes in an hour, and then it was like, well, what do I do now? I can't go anywhere. So what do I do? Um, and so it was very interesting. I liked working at my own pace, but then there were other times I wished it was a little more structured. But I know within 24 hours it wasn't going to be perfect or ideal. But
right.
I definitely liked kind of working at my own pace, which
That's
was definitely
awesome.
nice.
It actually kind of sounds like it might have been an unintentional, really good prep for college because,
Yeah,
right, you
absolutely.
go, depending on the class, to like one time a week, two times a week, three times a
Mhm.
week to a class, and you just do the work independently outside, even in normal
Yeah.
face to face type stuff. But now with digital learning and teaching, like it's even
Mhm.
more self guided. So it almost sounds like that was a bit of a like good primer for you all on like, okay,
Yeah.
these are the tasks you've got to do. If you get done with them quick, you're done quick. if it takes
Mhm.
you however long. And so like you got a bit of like self-management experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely a way for us to be more independent and kind of manage through things on our own and just kind of go through it on our own. And of course, our teachers were there. And if you had questions, you could email them or you could set up a Zoom call with them. And so that was nice to have those resources. But it definitely was a way to help with time management, being more independent. And so, yeah, I totally agree. I think it is really going to prep me for the next couple of weeks for when I'm, oh my gosh, sorry.
You're okay.
Oh, sorry, I got a phone call. Um, I think it's really gonna help with my college prep classes and some that are strictly online, just all at your own pace. So I'm more ready for those ones. But
Yeah.
yeah.
What classes are you taking, and do you know their formats yet?
Mm. So I am taking just like a general chemistry class, which that one is strictly they're saying it's online, meaning it's completely at your own pace. Even if there wasn't a pandemic, it would still be an online class anyways.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm taking English, just like a standard English class, um, a public speaking class, and Biola is a Christian school, and so it's my English classes kind of tie into our Bible classes that we also have to take. So I'm also in a Bible interpretation class, which I'm super, super excited for.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get into an art class to hopefully just kind of get that credit out of the way.
Yeah.
um,
But that
hoping,
that could be a nice. I know I saved that for like my last semester of my senior year, and I'm
yeah,
like doing these like thesis papers, and then I'm like
right,
cutting out pictures of a magazine, and I'm like,
right,
okay, this is
right.
like I'm all right with
Yeah,
this right now.
that's good. Yeah, I'm hoping to get into like film appreciation, as
Oh
I think all
yeah,
you do is watch movies. So that would
that
be
one would
nice.
work well digitally, right? You can.
That's true. That's true. And then I'm also taking it's called first year seminar. It's kind of an introduction class to your major.
Mm,
So it's just an introduction class to kinesiology, which I'm super excited about because I have with some of my teammates and my roommate because we're all the same major.
yeah,
And so yeah, I think that'll be really fun to have together. Super pumped for that class.
yeah, yeah. I'd love to. Speaking of like roommates and classmates, I'd kind of
Mhm.
love to hear how you stayed connected with your friends and peers in your high school, and at least what you're hoping to see for like connection wise going into the fall, right?
Yeah. So with social media now, it's very easy to keep up with people that I went to high school with. There's definitely some people that I already we've kind of lost touch, but some of my really close friends from high school, we follow each other on Instagram or Facebook or are friends with each other on Snapchat, and so um, it's nice to kind of keep up with them and chat with them a little bit and everyone's going all over the place. Some are California, Colorado, Montana, like everywhere. And so it's been cool to see their experiences already through social media. Um, but for like Viola wise, I have not met a lot of the incoming freshmen that are going to be on the team, but we all got each other's phone numbers, Snapchats, Instagrams, and so we keep up with each other. We text all the time. And so even though I've never met some of them, I connected really well with them and I think we already know so much about each other, which makes me a lot more comfortable going into school.
Yeah. How did that get set up? Did like one of the older swimmers put that together, or did coach, or?
Yeah, it was actually coach. Every time there was a new commit or someone that committed to the team, he would send out an email and say, Jackie Mudd committed to Biola. Here's her phone number. And so so it was kind of nice because then every time it was like, oh, I can text them and say congrats or, you know, follow them on Instagram. And it was really cool because it wasn't only the incoming freshmen that were texting each other. I text girls that are juniors or seniors or gonna be sophomores. And so it's been really nice to connect with
Yeah.
all of them. And, I'll text coach every now and again and check up on him and, ask him how he's doing. And so it's been really nice to already have so many personal connections with
Yeah.
people that I'm really comfortable going to school now, because a lot of people go to school terrified because they don't know anybody.
Right.
And so I'm really grateful that I have that building block already from the swim team. Really grateful that I already have those people in my life that I can look up to and talk to about anything. So yeah, I'm
Right.
really excited to be with all of them.
Do you feel you'd be as connected if it were like if you were going to Biola but not on the
Mhm.
swim team?
Yes and no. I have reached out and have connected with some girls and some guys that are on the soccer team or who aren't
Mhm.
playing sports at all, or some guys on the baseball team. And so, but I think it definitely helps being on the swim team and being an athlete. I think that's why we get along, is because we have so much in common.
Right.
But I have connected with a lot of people that aren't doing sports at all. And so I think, and a lot of it's been through like DMing on Instagram and just like, hey, I saw you're going to Biola. When we get there, do you want to have coffee? Even just a little starter, little opener like that has made all
Yeah.
the difference. Um, there's some girls that I've connected with who are going to be seniors,
Mm.
but are like, hey, let's go get coffee when we get to school. Or if you're ever out in California, let me know so we can meet up. And so I've had people reach out to me, I've reached out to other people. And I think it's just the culture of the school. Just everyone is
Mm.
so open and welcoming to
Yeah.
everybody that it's been nice to hear that, you know, people who are seniors want to hang out with a freshman and help them through classes, walk them around campus. And so when people reach out to me, it inspires me to reach out to other people. So
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for those connections I already have outside of the swim team, but 100% it helps already being on the team and already knowing those people.
It's as an instructor, that's
Mhm.
really reassuring to hear that like students are independently connecting. It sounds like there's a
Yeah.
lot of initiative on your part, and so
Mhm.
maybe other students who are listening, if you're like worried about connection,
Yeah.
take some initiative. Just go on Instagram or find other people
Mhm.
following and going to the school. It sounds like,
Yeah.
kind of thing. I know that that is one thing that a lot of instructors are really worried about is like how do they
Mhm.
foster connection and engagement in their
Mhm.
classrooms.
Yeah.
Do you have ideas for that, or do you have any hopes, like you're hoping you get into these online classes and it's
Mhm.
going to look a certain way, or you're hoping your instructors do certain things?
Um, I honestly don't have any expectations. Just being an incoming freshman, I don't even know how classes worked pre-COVID, and so
Yeah.
I think it's going to be different for everyone. I am really hoping that some of the instructors will kind of guide us a little bit as to how we get to know each other. Biola's a smaller school, so average class size is about 30 to 60 people.
Hmm.
And so I think it'd be really easy to get to know your classmates. And I already know people on the swim team that are gonna be in some of my classes, so I'll have them, but I am hoping that some of the instructors will kind of guide us at first, or even throw in a couple of icebreakers or something like that, so that we can get to know each other and immediately connect with each other. But I think being a college student and having that social media and having that resource, that I think it's mainly dependent on the student to kind of reach out to other people. And even just a simple like, do you want to Zoom and study together, or
Yeah, like
something
Zoom
like
study
that.
groups.
Exactly. Or even, do you want to have coffee over Zoom? I've done that a couple times, which has been so fun.
Yeah.
And just kind of catch up. And I think that's a really nice way to get to know your classmates, get to know, friends, people you wouldn't usually hang out with. And so I honestly think it's more dependent on the student, but
Mm.
I am hopeful that the instructors will kind of guide us at the beginning.
You all heard it here first. A student wanting icebreakers. Do you
Yes,
know how
I
many
do.
times I don't use the term icebreaker? I'm like, all right, we're going to do an activity. And I get, oh, like,
I do.
um,
I think icebreakers are so awkward that I love them because I think every person is so awkward with it
yeah,
that it's like, oh, well, you had a funny response, so I guess mine doesn't sound so bad either, or something like that. But I think it's a funny way for people to get to know each other and just kind of open up just in a
yeah.
smaller way.
That's insightful, right? Everyone feels
Mhm.
awkward during an icebreaker. So, like,
Yep.
that's almost part of the fun of it. Do you
Yep.
have a favorite and least favorite icebreaker?
Oh man. I think my least favorite is if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Ah,
Because I never know. I have no clue. Um um man, I love icebreakers. So there's a lot that are my favorites. Favorite foods, favorite colors, whatever. Little things.
yeah. Have you heard the
Yeah.
boring fact one?
Oh, what's a boring fact?
Like, instead of sharing interesting facts, you go around and share a boring fact about yourself.
I have heard that one, but I haven't done it yet. But I honestly can't think of a boring fact that I think all the facts that I have are interesting or funny.
Are you
Might be
left-handed or
boring too.
right-handed?
I am right-handed, so
Like that kind of thing. Like you get answers like, "I'm right-handed."
that's
You're
it.
like, okay. Like, I
Right?
think that makes those boring facts great. I like that one
Yep,
a lot.
that's probably true. I'm right-handed, but I like my left hand better, so I don't
Oh,
know.
see,
I
you're
don't know
making
why.
it interesting. You have to keep it
Right?
boring.
Right? Like at Waterworld, if I'm given the choice to go on a right side or a left side, I always pick the left one. I
Uh,
don't know why.
Waterworld's closed this summer.
Unfortunately, it is.
I
Yeah,
was
we
so
kind of made
looking.
our own.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we just did a bunch of like water polo days and
Hmm,
yeah,
that's
running
fun.
through the sprinklers and bunch of games that we did. So we kind of made our own water world.
Waterworld, for people who don't know, is one of the largest water parks in the nation, and it's in
Mhm.
Colorado, and it's definitely a summertime staple for
Yep.
especially people who love to swim. But
Yes.
one of my favorite places, uh, yeah, lots of memories with you at
Oh yes.
Waterworld. Going on like the roller coaster, water slide,
Yep.
and stuff like that.
Yep.
I was really excited to take my boys. We've got a couple out here, and Boone is finally
Uh-huh.
kind of at that age where he's like stable in the water.
Gotcha.
He's had
Good.
no fear of water, like,
Good.
which is, I'm
A
always
good
like, I
and a
don't
bad
want my
thing
kids
maybe.
to fear water. And then now that I'm like a dad and I see him like no fear jump in, I'm like, you don't know how to swim. Like, oh
Yeah.
God. Have to like grab him, but now he's like stable. And so I
Oh,
was
that's
really hoping to
good.
be able to take him to some stuff this summer, but
Yeah. I know.
one of these one of these days.
One of these days, yes. You'll have to come out and we'll go.
Yeah, yeah, he'll be thrilled. I'll be thrilled to
Right?
go to water world again. Oh goodness. Goodness. um so that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you want to see more connection um from instructors, and I think that's a really important point that
Yeah.
instructors try to foster that, especially for the incoming freshman group,
Yeah.
who might not have the benefit of being on the swim team and
Mhm.
other connections, or maybe didn't take that initiative. Um,
Yeah.
I like your Zoom study groups idea and like
Thanks.
coffee, and that's
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
Yeah, I've done a few like coffee over Zoom and they're my teammates from California and so we're in a different state and we'll just sit there with our coffee and just we'll talk for like an hour and it's been so fun because we don't even talk about swimming. We just talk about our lives and what's going on in our lives, just
Yeah,
telling funny stories and so it's been really fun to just kind of have those
yeah,
connections and being able to do that and those resources. But yeah, like a Zoom study group, me and some of the incoming freshmen have done that as well with our little like summer classes that we had to take. We would Zoom and we wouldn't even talk that much, but it was just each other's presence that we loved it and we just enjoyed having each other even over Zoom. It was just
yeah.
a nice way to kind of do stuff together.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's an easy thing for instructors to do is
Mhm.
even a sign up page for like, hey, who would like a study group? And right, if you're feeling like you need that connection, then you
Right.
can.
Right.
So you're studying kinesiology.
I
Sounds like you're
am.
just kind of dipping your toes this first semester. It always ramps
Yes.
up into more exciting classes as you go. But
Yes.
you want to be a physical therapist, yeah?
I
So
do.
tell me about
Yes.
that. What made you choose that route?
Okay, so it's kind of a crazy story. So I growing up, I knew I always wanted to still be involved with sports or somehow just being physical, being active. Um, and so I saw Amy Van Dyken. She's an Olympic swimmer from Colorado. Um, 6 years ago, she was injured in a ATV accident that left her paralyzed from the waist down. And I follow her on Instagram and social media. Just I grew up with her being my swimming inspiration. And so after her accident, I still would watch her videos on Instagram and she was going to physical therapy and I was like, that is so cool and what they're doing to help her is amazing and I want to make that kind of an impact in
Hmm.
someone's life. And so I wanted to do that for about like 4 years, I want to say. And then it started to kind of fall off. I was looking at different paths for me. And as soon as I started thinking, like, I don't know, I love physical therapy, but maybe it's not the thing for me, I walked into a restaurant and she was sitting in there. And I immediately knew, I was like, I'm going to be a physical therapist because of Amy. Like, that is 100% going to be it. And she's why. And I went up to her and I told her, I was like, you were my inspiration through swimming. But after seeing your physical therapy videos, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so, again, with the social media, that it was a video on Instagram. And that is why I want to be a physical therapist. But it was a total like godsend for me that, I was kind of on the fence debating if I want to do that or not. And then I saw her there and that was it. I was like, I know that's what I'm going to do. And it was
Yeah,
that day I applied to the kinesiology program
that's
and got
awesome.
accepted into that. So that is kind of my story of why I want to be a physical therapist. So yeah, I'm really excited for that journey and I keep up with physical therapy pages on Instagram. That's so nerdy, but
No, no,
I
that's
love
awesome.
I love watching those videos. I think it's so interesting and I want to make that impact on somebody in a positive way and help people getting back to what they love doing physically, helping people get back into sports or even just walking up and down stairs. Little daily tasks like that too are so important and I just want to play a role in someone's life.
Yeah, yeah, I think you will. That's awesome. That's
Thank
such a
you.
great story. Like,
Thanks.
that definitely sounds and feels like a God moment there, where you're
Yeah.
kind of wrestling with something, and then there's like a whoa
Yeah.
kind of sign. That's really fantastic, and
Thanks.
I think you'll enjoy it. Just, I mean, even
Thank
from
you.
what I know of you. So
Yeah.
how far along that track can Biola get you?
So right now it can only do the 4 years of undergrad.
Hmm.
Um, so the plan right now is to do my undergrad at Biola and then do 3 years of like post grad, so getting your master's and then your doctorate. Hopefully, gonna go through um, CU is the plan right now. It might change.
Yeah,
I know Biola has talked about gaining that program to get a doctorate in kinesiology because that's kind of their bread and butter. That's kind of their major, and so they're hoping to get that program. So if that's the case, the plan will be to go there. But right now, just gonna do the 4 years there, and then probably go to CU or do it online or something like that. But yeah, it is 3 years afterwards, so it's about
yeah.
7 years total.
which isn't too bad to get a doctorate and a
Yeah,
master's and
right,
all of that. So
right. Not
that's
bad
an
at
awesome
all.
plan.
Yeah, and you can
And
also get jobs after your 4 years. So I can be working and getting money, um, while also going to school.
yeah, and 4 years is a long way out. You may decide that you just love Southern California and
Right,
decide for a program down there, or who
right.
knows where life can take you, right? When I came out to Chico, I
Exactly.
had no plans to stay out here. I'm like 2 years in Chico,
Yeah,
and here we are. I know that
here
was
we are.
I'm very happy that I did, but there's a lot about
Good.
Colorado I miss, right?
I'm sure.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where that all will take you.
Thank you.
What
Me
classes
too.
are you excited to take? Do you know kind of what's on their track that you're like specific
Mhm.
classes you're really looking forward to?
So right now, just my first year, I'm in my first year seminar. It's just the introductory class to kinesiology. I'm really excited for just like anatomy classes.
Hmm.
Um, that'll be later down the road, possibly second semester. And one I'm really, really excited for is a lab. I believe you take it either your junior or your senior year. And Biola has built this new weight room, but it's not for athletes. It's not for like public use. It's only for the kinesiology department. And so you have your classmates lift weights or they'll do like they're squatting and you hook up cords and all these different things to them. And on a TV right above them, you can see how their muscles are moving. And
Hmm.
so that is so exciting to me and so interesting. And so I can't wait to do that and watch how the body works and the impact of jumping or running. And they also do a breath holding lab. So they take people from the swim team and you essentially go into a dunk tank and you
Hmm.
hold your breath for as long as you can and it's clear so everyone can see you doing it. And you have all these cords hooked up and they can see how your lungs react underwater for that amount of time. And then they take a non-swimmer does it and sees the difference and how
Yeah.
you can train your lungs. And so I think that is just so interesting. And so I think those labs are what I'm most excited for down the road.
Yeah. That sounds like some biomechanics and physiology type stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
right? I think EMGs is
Uh-huh.
what you're looking at with like muscle activation and the
Yeah.
cords and
Mhm.
stuff like that. They
Yep.
probably have accelerometers and things like that on barbells and
Mhm.
stuff to kind of see
Yeah.
the speed and the weight and find the
Yeah.
power, and that's very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I'm also excited. There's a ton of internship opportunities out there.
Mm,
Um, so one of the men, he just graduated, but he was a senior captain on the swim team. He was the assistant trainer for the women's soccer team. And so he got to like travel with them to all their different games. And so if they needed to be taped or if they needed, cramp release or they needed their muscles massaged for a little bit, like he would do it. And I just thought that was so cool, still just being a student and getting to travel to their games with them and, be really hands on. And even as a freshman, you're allowed to go into the athletic training room and do cupping and dry needling and acupuncture like on your friends. So all the swimmers have the cup marks everywhere because they just like do it. They just want to try it on each other. So I am so excited to do that. Have it done to me because I love cupping and excited to do it to other people. I think it'll be really interesting to see how other people do it. And yeah, I'm really excited for
I'm trying to think back to the friends I had in college, and I don't think I would trust any of them to do any type
that.
of acupressure
Right.
or acupuncture, excuse me,
Right.
acupuncture on me. Like, I
Yes.
no needles for you.
No. Yeah,
That's
don't stick
really cool,
needles in
though.
me.
That's
Yeah,
so
just
fun.
even as a freshman, you just kind of get to have those experiences and just kind of experiment with the different things that are offered and you get to shadow the athletic trainer and I'm super excited. They just built a new athletic training room. It'll be brand new this year. So I'm really excited to get to use that.
Yeah. It sounds like it's going to be a great experience for you.
I
That's
think so
awesome.
too. I'm really excited.
So just in general, like as you transition here into college and college life and it looking very different, right? What
Yeah.
things are you apprehensive about? Are there things you're worried about that kind of make you nervous, or where's your
Um,
head in those respects?
yeah, so being a student out of state, I'm definitely nervous for that. It's my first time kind of being away from my parents for that long.
Yeah.
Um, it's definitely hard. I have lived in the same house all my life, and so I am very nervous for that aspect, but I'm a person that's very independent and kind of ready to spread my wings and ready to go out there and face the world. And so I'm really excited for that challenge. I think no matter where you go, even if I was staying in state, you're going to be nervous,
Hmm.
especially just your freshman year. I think I'm the most nervous still about Um, I love having personal connections with teachers. And so I think even in high school, I was worried that I wasn't going to have that. I love knowing things about my teachers just outside of the classroom, just knowing them as people. And so, of course, I'm nervous that it's, I'm not going to get that, especially because classes are online. I'm not sure how I can really dive into a teacher's like personal life and get to know them and have them get to know me outside of the classroom just as people. So I think I'm the most nervous for that aspect, especially just being online, not having as much of a connection with them because then I don't feel as accountable for my stuff or for my schoolwork. Um, I just love having personal connections. Even like with you, being a coach, like I loved still having a personal connection with you and knowing you as a person outside of the pool.
Yeah.
And so I love having that with teachers. So I'm definitely a little nervous as to how that's going to go down through online.
Yeah, and that's I think important for instructors to remember that share you I'm speaking to instructors here, but
Yeah.
share yourself, right? Like
Yeah.
it's okay. I imagine that you as a student, you want to be recognized. And like you just said, you
Mhm.
want to be recognized as you and who you are and like
Yeah.
all these things that are going on in your life. You are away from your family. You are joining this swim team. Like there's a lot to you and there's a lot to
Mhm.
every one of your students and you all want to be seen,
Right.
but you also want to see the instructor. You don't want to just see the robot come in the room and walk out or turn
Right.
on Zoom and leave. And so I think that's good advice and good insight for instructors
Mhm.
to be real and share yourself. And if anything, with this online during a pandemic, right?
Mhm.
It's an amazing opportunity. Like,
Yeah.
hey, sorry, life's kind of a shit show. So I think
Yeah.
this is the second episode I've said shit show in. So, right. But we can be real. This is an
No, yeah.
opportunity to be real because we're all struggling and going through so much right now that
Absolutely.
being real helps foster that connection and just develop empathy. Um,
Absolutely.
from an instructor standpoint, I'll
Yeah.
give you some advice on how to do a lot of that. The
Yeah.
students that I always feel most connected with were the ones who came in, they asked questions, they
Mhm.
I'm always impressed when like students introduce themselves after the first day of class. So
Mhm.
I'll have in the first week people will kind of like line up. They'll have some question, but they're like, "Hi, I'm Jackie." Like,
Yeah,
um, right? You got to start with some sort of introduction.
for sure.
Uh, so stick around. Like, if don't be the first person to log off of Zoom. Like, maybe have a
Yeah,
question. Start those conversations. Even just like, hey, I wanted to ask a little bit about the content here. I had this question, and like
for sure.
establish that rapport. And the more conversation you have, the more you'll connect with them. But you'll
Yeah.
probably run into instructors who are just like, and
Yeah.
they like hang up and they're gone.
Yeah,
um,
right.
which is kind of what we're trying to set out to change with this podcast. And
For
help
sure.
more people understand and connect with their students.
Yeah, and I think as a student, I think it's just as important to check up on your instructors or on your teachers. I know I was trying to do that um, at the very beginning, like in March, where it was like our first couple of weeks of online school, and we were having those surveys that were asking, "How are you today?" I would do a little private comment, and it was like, "How are
Mhm.
you today?" And just like check, I think it's important to check up on your teachers too, because I'm sure they're struggling as much as we are. I know they hate this as much as we do
Yeah.
and wanna be in person and be with us, and so I think it's important, and that's why I love having those personal connections is especially right after I graduated, I text my principal now from high school and say, "How are you doing today?
Mm.
Like, I know it's a crazy time and you're getting ready for school to start. Like, how's it going?" And so I love having those personal relationships. And I just think it's important to check up on them too, because, you know, teachers are
It,
people too.
as an instructor, it feels really nice when students take that time to
Yeah,
check in, and even with just everything that's gone on in the last year with Bowden and his health,
yeah,
and as you can imagine, I've had to like cancel classes suddenly or shift things online for a week or two while I am
right,
in the hospital with him. Like,
right.
I would always have a few students who would like send me just an email out of the blue, like, "Hey, I'm hoping for the best," or "I'm praying for you," like,
Mhm.
and Bowden through the surgery. Like, I would have like emails bring tears to my eyes and like make me
Yeah,
cry, and I just like loved having students reach out. So
for sure.
if you're a student, and I know like a lot of this podcast is for instructors, but if you're a student listening here, take Jackie's advice, and instructors like to be recognized as people and cared for too.
For sure.
That's awesome. That's really insightful. Thank you. I've
Yeah.
it's it's so fun seeing that like we have people like you coming up and
Aw,
into it, and it can be hard to foster those connections
for sure.
with students, and sometimes it feels like students are checked out,
Yeah,
or don't want to be there. So it's fun hearing from people like you who are like, I want to be all in, and I want my instructors to
yeah,
be all in, and
for sure.
it makes it such a great experience all around.
Yeah, I think a lot of students are very intimidated to talk to their
Yeah.
instructors and kind of they're they're intimidated to ask them personal questions or get to know them. And so I know I loved those teachers that were very open or would share a story immediately on the first day of school would say, or tell a personal story because then you knew, oh, they like talking about their personal life or like they
Mhm.
want to get to know us and so we get to know them and just a little bit of information from every teacher was so helpful to me because then it made me less nervous or less intimidated to go talk to them and create those relationships. I would in high school, I had one teacher and I loved his class and it was like an elective course and I took it for 3 years because I wanted to stay in his class, just because I loved having that personal kind of relationship and just kind of chatting with him, and getting to know him. And so I think when teachers are very intimidating, you won't get those responses. But when they're more open, then you're going to get more people to come in and talk to you and, get to know you. And I think professors will want to get to know the student as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a very valid hope and something you're
Mhm.
looking forward to. And it sounds like it's easy to break that kind of intimidation wall by just sharing a bit about yourself, right?
Right.
And I think that's so important to teaching and learning just in general, that who we are absolutely plays into where we're at learning
Mhm.
wise, even just on a day-to-day basis. Like, how are you feeling today? You might not be in
Yeah.
the headspace to really like learn something deep and complicated, and it doesn't mean that we have to
Right.
like change the curriculum, but it's like, okay, we need to just provide each other grace, and like,
Right.
okay, you need a bit more time, great. And there's so many, I just wish my students would be more open with me because
Yeah.
I can support you,
Yeah.
right? If you're open and you're like, hey, things are hard right now,
Yeah.
let's figure it out, you know, like,
Yeah.
let's figure it out, because I know as a person, we all know as people what it's like for things to be hard right now. And
Right.
um I asked in one of my previous interviews, May, I asked her like, what's one thing that she wished she could do in like school, and she wished she could just like walk up to a professor and be like, I can't do today, and then
Yeah.
be completely understanding. And like, I think we
Oh
need
my
more of that,
gosh.
and connection
Mhm.
comes with that,
Yeah.
or connection
Absolutely.
facilitates that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Um, again, just I just love having those personal relationships, just a little icebreaker from the instructor and the student, I think are so important. And yeah, I just love getting to know them as people just outside of the classroom. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I am curious, just I don't get uh as much of insight. I personally teach a lot of juniors and sophomores, or like
Okay.
sophomores, a kind of, but a lot of juniors and seniors.
Yeah.
Um, so how ready do you feel for college? Do you feel like prepped, like you're going to be able to come in and handle it? Are you, you came from a very good high school, like,
I
so
did.
we have to acknowledge that. And uh, your high school is definitely not like a private high school that
Mm.
a lot of like rich and very affluent people come from, but it's also not like a low income or low
Yeah.
social economic status type school. So like we're kind of very like
Yeah.
middle of the road, white
Yeah.
privilege, like kind of high school. So there's that to
Yeah.
keep in mind. But how ready do you feel for college?
I I've been getting this question a lot.
Hmm.
I feel very ready, but also not ready at all.
Okay.
Academic wise, I feel very ready. I feel like in high school, my teachers, taught us a lot, prepped us a lot for what we're going to need. And especially in like English classes, we would write these 12-page papers, and it was like, keep them so that you can use them in college and you can retweak them. And especially my English class senior year of high school, it was called College and Career Bound. So we
Hmm.
weren't writing about books, we were writing about ourselves. We wrote our college application essays in class, and we wrote research papers about our majors. And so academic wise, I feel very ready, but socially, I feel ready, but also not ready at all, because I feel like in high school, teachers hold your hand a lot, and they say they're not, and they say they don't want to hold your hand through this whole class, but they do. And so now getting ready for freshman year, I'm nervous to like let go of that, and I'm nervous to kind of just go by myself. A lot of kids aren't nervous. A lot of kids are just fully ready to go. Um, and it might just be me personally that felt that issue, or that I felt that my teachers were kind of hand holding me through the year. I can't speak for everyone, but I know for the majority of us, a lot of us are nervous to kind of let go and just spread our wings and just go out by ourselves. But
Yeah.
academic wise, I feel ready, but socially, it's just kind of, I don't know. We'll have to see. I haven't really gotten to live the freshman college experience yet, and so I don't know the full answer if I'm, how I really feel from high school. But yeah, I feel like they prepared us pretty well and that we're pretty ready.
Yeah. And I think even your explanation is related to academics, right?
Yeah.
Socially, but also navigating the academics. Not that you don't think like you're smart enough to learn the material, or that you have a good enough base foundation, but
Right.
more the personal accountability and
Mhm.
self accountability of like,
Yeah.
okay, I have to do a lot of this on my own. And that's, I think, really insightful for instructors to recognize. And I'm really appreciative that you shared that
Yeah.
as much as you don't want to think it, there is a lot of hand holding that comes through high school, right? You're there every
Right.
day with them and you see them. So there's a lot of accountability and structure. Um, and so I think it's important that we help transition you through that, right? It's
Right. Yeah.
you all are going through such a huge life transition, moving away, moving to other schools, right? You all of
Right.
a sudden you're taking a full credit load, but a 15 credit load is like 40 hours a week, but maybe
Yeah.
8 of those are in class. 8 to
Right.
12 of those are actually in class. So now you're left with navigating 30 hours of I think I should be working. Like, how do I
Yeah.
structure this? What should I be doing? Like,
Right.
um, that's a big transition, and I, I'm glad you shared that because I think that's
Mhm.
important for us instructors to remember that freshmen are
Yeah.
coming in through this really big life transition, and so we need to help you transition with
For sure.
starting to get you that independence and showing you what it looks like and showing you how to navigate it, but also giving you the
Mhm.
opportunity
For
to
sure.
navigate it and know that there's going to be hiccups, right? Like
Yeah.
I remember my freshman year and being like, "Oh, like this isn't due for 3 weeks." Like, "Okay." And then like not getting it done or
Right.
that kind of thing. So,
Right. Yeah. I think it's
thank you for
definitely
that.
accountability too. Just yeah, having those teachers, hold you accountable, but also, you know, helping us through that transition because it's a big one even pre-COVID. I know it looks a lot different
Yeah,
now, but it's a big transition. It's a big milestone in someone's life, and so I definitely think we need that support system. And I'm not saying that like none of the instructors do that. I know a lot of them
right.
do, and the majority do, but just really kind of, especially now in these crazy times, just really emphasizing that, you know, we have their support or that they're right behind us. And
Mhm.
yeah, there's gonna be mistakes, but we can't let it like slide under the rug, but also it's not the end of the world,
Right.
and just kind of having that support system right behind you just in case.
Yeah.
I
It
think,
shouldn't tank your grade because you're like
right,
figuring out this like self-management
right.
new piece
Yeah.
and
And go
but
ahead. It's very different. So it's a very different way of learning, and none of us have any clue what to expect. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully, having that support system just like right behind me, and my parents and my family and friends are always there to support me. But it's definitely very helpful if you have those instructors or those teachers that are just right there, kind of
yeah.
walking alongside of you and just kind of letting you go
Yeah.
gradually.
And I think the gap is bigger this year than it's ever been before because with
Yeah,
online learning, so much of what makes online learning effective is the ability to navigate at your own pace.
right.
But that means you have to know how to self manage and
Right.
like navigate it. And so it's already a pretty big transition going from you're in class for 7 hours a day, seeing
Mhm.
your instructor 5 days a week, if not multiple times a day, depending on like, are they a homeroom instructor or like that kind of thing,
Mhm.
going to you see them twice a week
Right.
in like a bigger group kind of thing. And now you might see them once a week. And then like I know instructors who are they're doing one Zoom meeting and then the other
Mhm.
meeting time is like students doing work asynchronously. So
Yeah.
the gap is bigger and I think that's a really valuable conversation that we're having here in that as instructors we need to remember that this is going to be hard for everyone. It's hard for us to prep it. It's hard for our students to navigate it. And
Yeah.
so I personally think the more organized you can be, the better your students can do and the better you're supporting your students. And I've had pushback on that. I've had people be like, don't you think this is a little like too organized and hand holding for them? And I'm like, no. Just because, I mean, right now, I want you to be able to focus on the content and learn what I want you to learn,
Yeah.
not how well you are at navigating how I structured my course.
Right.
Right. That's awesome. Jackie, I know we're
Yeah.
starting to kind of hit our hour mark and get close on time here, and I feel like
Yeah.
could keep chatting with
Me
you.
too.
But so I'd like to kind of round these podcasts out with some lighter questions. I know we've had a pretty
Okay.
positive conversation. I really think that that
Yes.
is a lot of because of who you are, and I really am appreciative of that positivity focus that you've brought into this
Thanks.
podcast, but also just with you wherever you go.
Thank you.
If you had to recommend one thing, I like to ask this one. If you had to
Yes.
recommend one thing to students or like
Mhm.
peers, what would it be? It could be a purchase, it could be a study technique, it could be anything.
Okay. Yeah. Um, so as a student that just had their senior year kind of stripped from the pandemic, I've been telling a lot of people this, just don't take anything for granted. I know waking up early and going to class or going to practice even is definitely not the most fun thing. It's definitely not what you want to be doing every day, but just don't take it for granted because when it's not there, you're gonna miss it a lot. And I know with high school, I wish I had gone to that basketball game, or I wish I had, hung out with those people. And because then we never had the chance to do it again. And so another thing I wish I had like told my teachers how much I really appreciate them, or like how much they have helped me throughout the year. I wish I had looked around my classroom again. There's a lot of I wish I had done this. And so for me, I would just say don't take anything for granted. It sounds kind of cliche, but once it's gone, like you won't get it again and you're going to miss it. And so just having that relationship with your professors, telling, your friends how much you appreciate them and how much you want to be around them. And yeah, just kind of soak it all in while you all have it.
Yeah, I think that is really insightful and a great recommendation for everyone listening. I mean, even I wanted to take Boone to like the basketball games and soccer matches and
Right.
everything over this last year, and we didn't. And now I'm like, okay,
Right.
maybe the oh wait, like maybe
Yeah.
we can't do that this year. So I think that's a really good thing for everyone to keep in mind. Um,
Yeah. Like
well,
senior year, there were, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead. You're great.
Senior year, there were so many times where I was like, I don't know if I want to go to the basketball game. It's too far. That was my excuse. I didn't want to drive that far. And then now I'm like, oh, I wish I had gone, or I wish I had hung out with those people that asked me to hang out and I couldn't go. And I wish I could. And so there's just so many like I wish or what ifs. And so yeah, I wish I had that back
Yeah,
and just kind of soaked it all in while I had it.
yeah. What is one thing you wish you could say to all of your instructors?
Oh, thank you so much. um, they just work so hard. I think instructors, teachers, I truly believe they deserve the world because they every teacher I've ever had has made such an impact on me and has taught me so many things, and they work so hard for us. It's it's not for them. They know the material. It's all for us. And so I make sure every day when I walk out of class I say thank you. I look my teacher right in the eye and say thank you for class today. But I wish I could just say thank you so much to those teachers one more time. Just I really appreciate everything that they did for me, and I just I loved having them as teachers. So yeah, just
Yeah.
thank you so much.
That's a great message. And my last question for you, and then we'll kind
Okay.
of wrap it up. What is one thing that you would want all of your upcoming instructors to know about you? So, like,
Huh.
if they're like, okay, Jackie Mudd, oh, I can cut out your last name. Sorry.
That's okay. No, that's fine. I've already
Okay.
said it like 15 times today, so that's okay.
Okay. I don't think I even noticed you saying your last name. Okay. Well, Jackie Mudd, she blank, or what's one thing you just wish they would all know about you that you might not get a chance to tell them otherwise?
Yeah. When I saw like the kind of questions to look over for this podcast, that was one that kind of it made me think a lot actually, because every time teachers say what's something about you, I always say I'm a swimmer or I'm on the swim team, and you know, doesn't really define me personally as to who I am. Um, there's something they can know about me academic wise. For me personally, I am not a good test taker. I know the material. I promise I pay attention in class. I do all the homework and I get it, but put me in a test and I only know my name. I'm like, I don't know anything else. And so that's always been something that I struggle telling instructors, because I don't want them to think that I don't try or that I don't listen or that I don't understand. It's just test anxiety is just a big thing that I have. And so I wish that teachers were more open to hearing that and to helping with that, because I definitely had instructors where I tell them, like, oh, I have bad test anxiety. And it's their way of thinking that's an excuse for you not to take it or not to do well. It's like a free pass. And it's 100% not my intent. It's just, it's something that I personally struggle with. And so I wish that more instructors are more open to hearing that or figuring out ways to help me take a test. So yeah, for me personally, that's something that I would tell them. Just not my strong suit. And so I really hope and I really pray that my instructors are receptive to that and will kind of help me get through that.
Yeah. Do you throw your gator guns before a test?
Oh, right. Yes, of course. I still do it before every single race.
I know.
So.
I love it. Yeah, we'll leave that as our inside joke. But
Okay.
Jackie, I so appreciate you coming on here, and appreciate your insight and your positivity as a student. And
thank you.
I think Biola and the swim team is just so blessed to have you. And
thank you.
Just all that you bring to their school. So thank you for being on this. And
thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a blast to catch up with you and talk to you and hopefully give some insight. And so, yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. I really hope you enjoyed that episode with Jackie Mudd, and I hope you were able to take a lot out of it. I know that I did. I can't wait for you to hear our next episode, and we will see you then.